Hey artist! First of all, I would like to thank you for joining this workshop. I am really excited to have you here and start teaching you the basics of doodling and impart my knowledge to you. I hope that you have fun and learn at the same time and enjoy this workshop. Now, let me walk you through the structure of this workshop. So, we start with basic. Now, what about the basics? I'm going to introduce you to a lot of things that we need to know about doodles. I'll start with some introductions. I'm going to begin with some warm up exercises, which are extremely very important. After that, I'm going to continue with what doodles are, and you will see later how we end up with the fillers. Then second comes is characters. Now characters is the main part of your doodle artwork. Hence, I'm dividing characters into 4 different parts. I'm going to be teaching you characters from day 2 onwards, which will continue to day 3, day 4, and the last is day 5. Now, characters are basically the main essence of your doodle artwork. I don't want to invest just one day and teach you the basics very haphazardly. Is why the reason I'm taking 4 days where I have segregated into different parts like your basic shapes, shape language, heads, hairstyles, entire posture, gesture, hands, etc. Now, after we are done with characters, the next thing to do is lettering. So, I'm going to be teaching you lettering, which is further divided into 2 parts. The first one being doodle lettering, and second one is followed by fox calligraphy. Now, next we see on day 7 object drawing. Along with object drawing, we also see some sketch noting. Sketch noting is one of my favorite topics. You will know why. Now, the next topic after this is Zentangles. I will show you that Zentangles, how you can use them in your doodles as fillers as well. And finally, we end this workshop with frames and borders. They are very small topics, but yet they are very, very powerful, and you really need these topics to complete your entire doodle. Now, basic we're going to start today, which is going to be day 1. Characters, and then lettering is on day 6. There is a mistake I've made over here. Let me go back again and rectify this. Because lettering we are doing on day 6, which includes fox calligraphy. Object drawing and sketch noting we are doing on day 7. Zentangles on day 8. Frames and borders on day 9. And then on day 10, we do have something on day 10, and that is a project. So we will be doing a small project so that you guys understand how to fuse all these 10 topics together to form a doodle story. If the structure of the workshop is clear, now we're going to move to the next slide and start with the basics of doodling. Now we begin with warm-up exercises. Now warm-up exercises are very, very important. No matter whether you are a beginner, advanced, or a pro artist, you need these exercises every single day before you begin with your work. Just a 10 minutes and you're sorted. Now, doing these exercises every day for 10 minutes before you begin with your actual art is going to benefit you in a few ways. What are these ways? First of all, it is going to improve your memory muscle. You will also see that doing these exercises every day is going to give you steady lines in terms of neatness, crispness, etc. And also you will notice that you will have no wrist or elbow pain in your hand. Now, in order to get these benefits, you must do these exercises every single day for 10 minutes. Now, I want you to open your sketchbook, grab your pencil, and your pencil should be like feather in your hand. Don't put a lot of pressure on the sketchbook, and start doing these exercise from one end of the book to the other end. No, not like this. It should be a straight line. Make sure that you try and draw straight lines. It's okay if it is gonna be a little tilted or slant, but the idea is to build memory muscle in your hand. Do not take help of any tool like a ruler or anything else. This should be done freehand. And there is a beauty about doing your doodles freehand. Do not stress about making these lines perfectly parallel to each other. You should enjoy this process as well. Do not make such thick lines. Make sure that the gap between the two lines is not much. And also, making these lines can turn out to be very therapeutic as well. So, in order to break your barriers, in order to have some stress relief, you can do these warm-up exercises as well. Just go on drawing these lines till the end of your page and you will be done. Now moving on to the next exercise of warm-up exercises. Now next we begin with is straight vertical lines. Same, you will do it like before. You will begin from one end of the page and you will try and do this exercise till the end of this page. You can also open spread a newspaper. That is the best way to do these exercises according to me. So you can open a spread of newspaper, take a pencil. You can take an older one or the one after everyone has read, and do these exercises from one end to the other. Now next we begin with some slant lines. Same way you have to do, begin from one end and to the other end of your book. Now whether you are a sketch artist, a portrait artist or a caricature artist, or whether you're into let's say acrylic or gouache, resin art, fluid art or any sort of an art, you must do these exercises every day for 10 minutes. It's a great way to learn. Now next we see some waves. Make sure you do this in one line, in one smooth way. I have to break in between because of the restriction today I have in my hand, but try to make sure that you do these waves in just one smooth stroke. Do not stop in between and make sure that they look parallel to each other. Now in the beginning you might struggle to do this, but it's completely okay. Not only is that you're making a memory, or you're building a memory muscle rather, but you're also enjoying this process. Like I said before, it's very therapeutic. It helps you to release your stress. So I want you guys to enjoy this process. Now next we try drawing freehand circles. You can continue from again one end to the other end. You can change the size of the circles also, that is also alright. But try making circles. You can continue for a few more lines. Today I'll draw just one line of circles, but you can fill a complete page with circles. Next I'm going with jalebis. I'm going with spirals. So this is also a great way of building a memory muscle. And plus, there's so many things that you can do with these. Later on, you can use these lines, patterns in your fillers as well, which we will do ahead in today's class. Now, the next exercise that we do is drawing parallel curves. We will do them in opposite directions and see how beautiful do they look after you're done. You're actually forming your own patterns as well. Make sure that you're being consistent in drawing these patterns. Do not hurry, take your time and try and draw them. And also make sure that you're not putting a lot of pressure of the pencil on these papers. You should learn to use your pencils like feather in your hand. The line work should be really very smooth and light. Now let's move on to the next slide and see what doodles are. Now before I continue, we are here because of doodling. You have joined this workshop to learn doodles. So I must assume that you have something or the other in your mind regarding doodling. I am sure that you have some or the other perception about doodling. I do not want you to go through internet or dictionary to know the meaning of doodles, because you have a perception about what doodles are. You have a meaning in your mind. So I want you to stick to that only. Here I will tell you, according to me, what doodles are, what I feel a doodle is. Now before I begin with that, I want you to pause right over here and think about what doodle is, and then come back and resume. So for me, doodle is nothing but scribbles. Not only scribbles, but mindless scribbles. Completely mindless. By mindless, what do you mean? An art which has no direction, something which is not focused on, a kind of an art that you do when you get bored in a class, conference, meeting, or anywhere. You turn the last page of your book and you start scribbling. That, my dear friend, is a doodle. Now, a lot of people ask me various questions and I would like to answer those questions here itself. So I am going to share my mantra, or rather any artist mantra for doodles. This is something that you must keep in your mind. It is very, very important. Write it in big bold letters in your sketchbooks, the mantra for doodling. I'm not going to tell you that what the mantra is, but also will explain you how to use this mantra. Alright, so I am taking a bold line. Yes, I'm making it in inverted commas, making it really bold. And the mantra for doodling is observation. Yes. Observation is very, 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 very important. Bold line, underline, inverted, do everything that you can. Now, when you observe, you're not only observing in space, but you're actually looking at the things around you and you're putting it down into the most simplest way possible. Now, let's say that you want to draw something out of your maybe imagination. So tell me one thing, till the time you have not observed anything, you have not broken it down into shapes and register them in your brain, how will you be able to imagine? So in order to imagine and draw, you have to master the art of observation. So first, let's get into what is an art. I'm sure that you have some or the other meaning for art. But let me tell you, art is not a drawing. Yes, it is not a drawing. I want to burst this myth for you that art is a drawing. Basically, when you say art, it is about how you look at the things or how you see at the things. Now, I am talking about this because I want you guys to know the real reason of the mantra observation. So is by the reason you should know what is art, how do you look at it. So now let's see that how to draw. It's a very simple thing, how to draw. So I'm going to put this in two different sections. One is seeing that we already discussed. And the second one is drawing, by looking at the things or by seeing the things you draw. Now, seeing is nothing but, again, observation. So in observation, you are looking at the things, trying to identify what does it look like, and what exactly are you doing by doing this? You are asking questions. Yes, you're asking questions to yourself, that what exactly is going on around you. And when I say you are asking questions, you ask yourself what? You ask yourself why? And when these two are answered, that leads to actions, which in results gives you a character. Now please remember these concepts, because these concepts are going to clear your basics. Basics is not only about drawing shapes, making characters and everything, but you must understand the theory behind it, and that's the reason I'm explaining you all these fundamentals. Now moving on to the next slide. Now I am going to share with you the flow chart that I follow. I hope that you are writing down these things. This is very, very important information that I'm sharing with you. So I hope that you make your asset library. Write all these things down, because the access to these videos is limited. So I want you guys to have this information in one place, and Sketchbook is the best place to write these things. So make your asset library and do not forget to add all the valuable information in one place. Now let me share with you my secret flow chart. When I say a flow chart, I'm going to tell you about how to draw everything. The things that you need to keep in mind when you have to draw everything. Now a lot of things comes under everything. That is why it's a summarization of the steps that I follow. Now the first step of this flow chart is seeing things inside and out, which means that you have to look at the things not only from the outside perspective, but understand its meaning. Look at it from the inside as well. Now the next step of the flowchart is observation and asking questions. I've already explained you the observation fundamental in the previous slide, and the kind of questions that you need to ask. So make sure that you observe and ask questions to yourself. Now once you're done with observation and asking questions to yourself, you are going to break it down. You're going to break down the things that you're observing. In what? You're going to break the thing down into shapes, you're going to break it down into forms, and the last thing, gestures. Now these three are very important factors when it comes to breaking down your observation item. I'm going to explain this further in depth ahead in the same class. The next step is master your tool. Now you have to make sure that you practice these shapes, forms and gestures. So the next step automatically becomes practicing your tool, which is again shapes, forms and gestures. After you're done with this, now you have to interpret what you have seen. You have broken it down into shapes, forms and gestures and everything, and now you're interpreting of what you have seen. And then we see the last part of this flow chart is either you can draw exactly what you have seen, or else you can draw it in your own style. So you can draw as it is, or you can add your style to it. I know now that you will have a question on style, so I will answer later in the workshop. Till then, just write all these steps of the flow chart and you will be good to go. Now moving on to the next slide. Now let's see the 7 important elements that you need to have when you are starting with the basics of doodling. Now the first one being a simple line. Now you can draw this line in any way. You can draw straight line, horizontal line, slant line. You can draw a wave, or you can draw a zigzag. You can draw parallel lines. Anything that you want, you can do with the lines. Now the second point of these important elements is nothing but shapes. You can draw a circle, you can draw a sphere, a square, a cylinder, a triangle, maybe an amoeba shape, or you can draw a teardrop, or let's say even a pyramid. So anything that comes under these categories is going to be in your shapes. Now after you're done with shape, the third point will be textures. It's very important for your characters to have textures or the background to have textures. So you can have either dots, you can go for a checks, you can go for hatching, you can draw straight lines, you can make swirls as well. So anything that will lead you to a texture can come under this topic. Now fourth one is going to be your form. Now here you can give some 3D 2D look to your shapes. It can be a sphere, it can be, let's say, a cube, you can draw let's say a cone. That can also be under form. After this, in your elements you will see space, you will see color, and then you will see value. So color and value goes hand in hand, and form and space goes hand in hand. So now these are the 7 important elements that you should keep in your mind when you are starting with the basics of doodling. And let's move on to the next slide and see the other things that we need to cover. So let me dive a little bit deeper into the mantra that I've shared with you earlier, which is observation. Now when you observe the things, you're not looking blankly into the space. And please do not scare the hell out of people by staring at them, because that is not observation, that becomes staring. So when you're observing, you are looking at the things, breaking it down into shapes and registering that in your mind. So what you're doing in observation is actually knitting a story or getting a new idea, which is obviously followed by a flow and a gesture. And then you can see shapes and forms. It's like shapes, flows, gestures, observation is the central part of your doodling journey. Now I want to introduce you to a family of shapes. Yes, shapes also have families. So I'm going to directly share with you the 3 brothers. Yes, the 3 brothers. So those are nothing but a circle. The first brother is going to be a circle. The second one is a square. And third one is a triangle. Now these are the 3 brothers. These brothers also have 5 cousins. So let's look at who these 5 cousins are. The first cousin, not a potato, but a sphere. So the first cousin is the sphere. Now the second cousin is a cube. The third cousin is a cylinder. The fourth one being a cone. And the fifth one can be a pyramid. So these are the 5 cousins to the 3 brothers. So here is a little small family of shapes, and I'm going to tell you a very interesting thing ahead in the next slide. So now there's a very interesting part which is followed by almost all artists across the world, and that is shape language. If you see Disney, Pixar, or any other artist drawing characters, you will see most of the artists follow this language. What is this shape language? Basically, we are using some attributes to define a shape. For example, let's say a circle. When will you draw a character with a circular face or a circular body? What are going to be the attributes of that character if you draw this shape? This is what shape language is all about. So here if you see, if you have to draw a soft character or a very harmless character, cute character, or maybe let's say a calm person, a happy person, ecstatic, a kid maybe. So that is the time when you use a circle shape. So these are the attributes which are related to the circular shape. Let's take the next shape as a square one. Now this is really interesting. When do we use a square shape? When we have to show a very solid person, rigid person, maybe very strong personality if you want to portray that, a stable person, when you want to show that the person is a leader, a trustworthy person. So when these attributes you want to show, you use a square shape for the character. And the last one being a triangle. Now triangle is used when you want to show sharp, evil, pointy, very grumpy person maybe, very powerful, angry, aggressive, and let's say violent. So these are the attributes related to the triangular shape character. Now to relate to this theory better, I would like to share an example with you from a very famous animated movie, which is my favorite as well. Now this is from the movie Up by Disney Pixar. Now if you look at this character, he is happy, he is sweet, he is cute, he is very joyful. All the positive things that you see in a character, you can look at him. Now why do you feel that? Because he is made with circles, his face is circular, his body is circular. Even if you see, his fingertips are circular. Now on the contrary, if you see this character is made up of a triangular face. His ears are also very pointy, his nose is pointy, his jaw is also having edges. Whereas over here everything was circular, here the things are triangular. So you feel that this character might be evil. Now here this character, obviously you can see the face shape is square. His even his fingertips you see are not circular, but it is square cut. This character portrays that he's very stable, he's very calm, he's a matured person, a leader sort of a person, and you get the dad kind of vibes from him. So this shape language is very important, and like I said, it's followed by most of the artists, so keep this also in your asset library. So ideally we are done with the class today, and I want to give you a task. So let's call it task 1. Now these tasks and homeworks are not really very compulsory. I understand that we come from different backgrounds of work, so you might or you might not get time. So but I recommend that you do these tasks whenever you get time, so that you are in practice with whatever you are learning in these videos. So basically your task is that you have to fill this entire A4 size sheet with shapes. Very simple, very easy, and make sure that it is an A4 size sheet, and you can do it vertical or horizontal. You want to color it, you want to leave it black and white, totally up to you. But you can use simple shapes and fill this entire page with these shapes. If you want, you can use your own shapes as well. It's not necessary that you have to stick to these shapes only, but you can go ahead and invent your own shapes and fill this entire page. Have a good time. So I want you guys to do one thing. I want you to go to your favorite place, listen to your favorite music, and without thinking anything in your life, draw these shapes. It's gonna be very therapeutic, it's gonna be a stress relief, and you are going to enjoy this time. And also, while doing this task, you might look at the things around you and you have a different perception of observing now. So you're going to enjoy this. I have tried to add flowers and leaves and fruits and everything also. So you can actually see that what all shapes, what all possibilities are there when you are drawing shapes, right? Now, when you are making your doodles and filling the space with shapes, you will need fillers. And I want to tell you what fillers actually are. So basically, fillers are nothing but filling empty spaces. It goes by the name that you're filling empty spaces. Now let's take an example that this is this entire page where we need to draw shapes and fill the empty spaces with the fillers. So how are we going to approach this? I want to show you a very tiny example of how we use fillers. Let's consider this is your complete A4 size sheet, and I am going to draw random shapes and scatter them around. Again, do not draw a small box on your A4 size sheet and do this. This is just an example that this box is my A4 size sheet and I'm drawing shapes in it. So I'm randomly going ahead and drawing shapes. You can scatter it on your entire sheet the way you want and have fun with the scattering as well. I have now added another shape, and after adding the shape I feel that there is no space remaining where I can draw a similar size shape into this. So what do I draw? I draw fillers in these empty spaces. The fillers are supposed to be very simple shapes. They don't have to be very complicated. Please don't sit and draw cars and bikes and what not as a filler. It has to be very simple. So I'm randomly taking a shape that is heart and I have spread it across. I've taken small circles and I have drawn these. I have added some leaves. I'm adding some flowers. If you want, you can add some teardrops. You can add, let's say, smaller triangles as well. So anything which is very simple, you can add as fillers. You can add stars as well. And now I feel if I add more, the main agenda of drawing the shapes will become little. It is going to suppress basically. So is why the reason I'm leaving it till this end, and I don't want to overcrowd my work with a lot of fillers. So these are the few examples that I am giving you that you can do with fillers. Otherwise, you can make your own examples as well. You can add your own shapes also. Very simple shapes like wriggly worms can also be treated as fillers because it's very simple shape. Now again, I'm reminding that this needs to be done on an A4 size sheet. Now if you want, you can go ahead and color this and use your color palette. Otherwise, you can leave it black and white also because color theory is not part of the basic workshop, and this is completely optional. So that's it guys, thank you so much. I had fun on day one and I hope you guys too had it, and I'm going to see you in the next class. Till then, take care.